Mounce, BBG, chapter 13, sentence number 10. All right, we're finally there, but you may or may not notice that this is a longer sentence than usual, and you really have to do some work to sort of break it down, make it a little bit more manageable. And again, I would tell you a sentence like this, look for your punctuation, kind of break it up in chunks based on the punctuation. I would tend to, and I'm sorry that this is smaller than the other ones, but I'm trying to fit it all on the page. So apologize for that ahead of time. In any case, that first break is going to be up to the first question mark, which you notice at the end of that first clause. So we're going to take that chunk and move from there. So he says now, noon is now, and then hey psuke mu. Of course, there you got your genitive, and there it really is possessive. So, if you want to say the soul of me, but, my soul, right? So, and he gave you the verb, so it's now my soul is troubled. And then when you look at the T, again, look at that accent. As soon as you see that accent, you're talking about what or why or which or who. In this case, he says, something I can say, or can I say, because you're going to have a question mark. So, and what can I say, right? So now my soul is troubled, and what can I say? That's your first clause. So you're done there. Then you go pater, is father. So that's easy enough. And then save me ectes horas tautes. So me, you've got that first person personal pronoun in the accusative, which looks basically like English. So that's easy enough. Save me, right? Then you have this prepositional phrase, and if I take it piece by piece, ek takes the genitive normally, and that's what we see all the way across here in terms of that whole prepositional phrase, is that everything follows ek is in the genitive. So out of or out from or from, in this case we'll just probably go with from, the, hour, this. So, putting that together, from this hour, right? So now my soul is troubled, and what can I say? Father, save me from this hour? Question mark. So he's asking it as a question. Your next chunk leads down to your period, or at the end of that sentence, so we're going to take that next. But then you got dia tuto, which again is, Mounce will say for this reason. I'm very happy for you to say because of this, simply because that helps you see the Greek, I think, a little bit more easily. So, but because of this, I came, and he gives you the verb here. And then again, you have another prepositional phrase at the end of this sentence, but instead of ek, you have ace. And of course, he's contrasting because he just says, but. He's, what can I say? Father, save me from this hour, but. And then he contrasts, because of this, or for this reason, it was exactly because of this, that I came, and then ace, into. And then the same exact, phrase, but of course with an accusative case, because ace takes the accusative. For this reason, or because of this, I came into this hour. All right. So that gets you through that second chunk. Then we got the third chunk. We're down to the next period, and we're going to say, Father. And he says glorify, and then you have an odd thing because you have this genitive singular, the second person personal pronoun, and if you were just translating, you say glorify of you the name. Now what we would expect if it were possessive would be to see to onoma su, and with su at the end. For some strange reason, a lot of times when we're talking about God, any kind of pronoun about him sort of gets fronted, almost as though it's emphatic because we're talking about God. So, may just be my imagination, but it does seem like that happens a lot in these kinds of situations, and that's okay. So all you do is do a little gymnastics, and you know that this is possessive, so you say, well, what does it go with? It can't really go with anything other than the name, right? So, Father, glorify your name, and just realize that Sue, can go anywhere and it didn't have to do with anything, but it's related to Toanama. Okay, so Father, glorify your name, and then you go into the next chunk, down to I will glorify. So he, she, it came, therefore, and then you have your subject, because you look at phone and you say, okay, that looks like a feminine singular nominative, right? So you recognize that as your subject, and you got to remember, though, that you got that un, which means therefore. You usually going to go with therefore for that. So therefore, a voice, because you don't have any definite article, therefore a voice came, and then you have a prepositional phrase, out of the heaven, or from heaven simply, is probably an easy way to play with that. But again, out of, out from, when you see an ek, you know that it's going to take the genitive, so you're not going to translate it as a genitive. You're just going to realize that it's the object of the preposition. You're going to go with from heaven. So therefore a voice came from heaven, and then you have, this is God speaking, and it gives you the verb, I glorified, and again, and it gives you the next verb, I will glorify. Now, what's missing? Well, obvious the piece that's missing is the direct object, and he's treating it as though this is, he's using intransitive verbs, which in English, glorify, you glorify something or someone. So we're looking for that direct object and going, where is it? Well, just remember that in Greek, you can ellipse just about any part of a sentence. And what you got to do is say, well, what's the piece that's missing, and find some way to make it less awkward by sticking it back into the sentence wherever necessary. The idea here is that he's referring back to his name. And so, if you want to use a pronoun, or if I didn't use a pronoun, I'd say, I both, and when you have kai, it's, sort of this idea of both and you see the first kai here, you see the second kai here. So run with both when you do that. That's a way to say both and. So I both glorified my name, and again, I will glorify my name. All right, if I were to do it that way, because again, that direct object ellipses out because it's already been mentioned by Jesus up above. Okay, so because that's information that has already been revealed, it ellipses out of here, and then you want to say something like, in your case, you're going to say, I both glorified it, and again, I will glorify it. That's good translation, because you're sticking with a pronoun that has that antecedent, and that antecedent is clearly his name. Okay, so the way you can do that, if you want to make sure that I understand that you know what you are doing, is that you would either italicize the term it when you inserted it back in, or you could put it in parentheses when you do your translation. Either one of those is just good translation work on your part to tell the teacher or tell the reader that you know what you're doing, and you actually are inserting words that have ellipsed out. Okay, so that takes us down to this last couple of chunks, and again, you got a said word here. So we can look at that quotation mark and say, well, let's break it up that way and take it up to the said and say Jesus answered. You have apokrithe as a vocabulary word that just simply means answered. Jesus answered and said, and then you'd have quotation marks, and you got, this is his quote, and he says not. And remember, dia, I always want you to, first thing in your head, it can mean through, but the first thing I want to hear in your head is because of. And if it's followed by an accusative, that's what it is. And that's what we have here is an accusative. So not because of me, the voice this came, right? So if you were just reading it word by word, but the way you're going to swap that around is this voice came not because of me, but because of you. And again, we have that accusative plural, or y'all, here at the very tail end. So, hey, phone haute, remember that's not from autos, that's from hutos, haute, tuto, and here's your haute, okay, which agrees with phone. So again, it's this voice, it's not he, she, it, it's this. And what tells you that is that rough breathing mark. So this voice came not because of me, but because of you, or y'all. And probably y'all or you all is better translation if you're talking about dealing with me, because I would tell you so often a second person plural is important to distinguish from a second person singular. So in any case, that should take care of chapter 13.